Hey guys, Ryan from Spyker Workshop, and in this video I'm going to do a quick overview of how to get up and running with your new Spyker Cat 2X. And this video is for anyone who buys something from me ready to run. So if you unpackaged your cat, this is where you'll start off here. So depending on what tracks you bought, when you get it in the mail you might have to also put the tracks on. And to do that, you kind of lay out the track like this. See the way that the tread pattern is facing? And then maybe two hands underneath the hull here like this. And you lift it out and drag it over the top like that. And then put it on like so. And then in your spare parts there'll be some spare screws, and in here there'll be a nut driver. And then I'll go ahead and put it on a drill like so. And to make it easier, you can unscrew one of these cleats here. That way it's just easier to see where the screws are at. And then all you have to do is put one screw in on each side like this here. And it's easiest to do it on the back of the vehicle, because right from here you got really good access to get a screwdriver in here. And then you just screw them in, not all the way tight. You need to leave a gap a little bit, otherwise, you'll pinch the track. And then I'll just go ahead and screw the cleat back on, and then do that for both sides. I recommend 12 volt, 12 amp hour. And then you will have a whole bunch of pre-wired leads that come with your cat. So all you'll have to do is purchase the batteries, which I recommend like Amazon. And then you'll have to actually solder on the battery leads to these. And then to charge these, charging them is up to you, but the way I personally do it is I have two of these style chargers. They can charge like almost any kind of battery. The only downside to these is they take 12 volts in, so you have to get an external power supply and kind of like wire that all up yourself. They also sell like cheap chargers for those seal lead acid batteries, but they're pretty slow. So if you go this route, you can charge them faster. I recommend between like 3 and 4 amps to charge those 12 amp batteries. The cheaper chargers only typically charge at like 1 amp, so that's like overnight charging. So once you have your batteries figured out, the way to actually open up a cat, they have these latches here, and you just slide them towards the kind of like the middle, so like the fronts will slide, that way, and then the same on this side here. And then like the front you lift up, and then it kind of pops off like that. The center one lifts straight up. And the rear one, same thing as the front. So one other thing to mention is it's up to you if you want to run 3 batteries or 6, or you can even run 2, although my wiring harness is pre-set up for either 3 or 6. So the difference is when you run with 3, you're just going to get less run time, but it's the same voltage. If you run with 6, you want to make sure that either method you're using, all of the batteries should be fully charged, so they're all equalized. Like it's kind of like with a AA battery and like an electronic. Like you can't run it with like one of them half empty and the other 2 full, because you'll damage, the one that's the lowest. But yeah, 6 would be for twice the run time. So I recommend putting 6 in when you're running a snowblower, and 3 if you're just going to go out and like drive just the cat around by itself. In this situation, I'm just going to show you how to put 3 in here. You'll have a few leads coming out of here. This lead will go to this voltage meter here that's on the lid. And then make sure that the power switch is off. And then on the circuit board here, you can see it's this one right by this 30 amp fuse. And this acts as a switch. So we're going to plug that in there. And then just kind of set the lid aside. And then kind of move the electronics out of the way because these spaces are for the batteries. And then there's a short and a long harness. So the long one can reach all the way to the back, 3 sets here. And then this one, you can just start plugging in one battery at a time. And try not to set them on the wires here. So I have the middle harness connected. The rear one you can leave unconnected if you're just running 3. And then I'm going to kind of make sure the wires are out of the way from this closing. And then lock it back into place there. And then we can get the radio turned on. So the 9X radio that I sell comes with a AA carrier, so it takes 8 AA's. And then the wire gets plugged in right here. And then you kind of tuck it in there. But you can also get these LiPo batteries. Hobby King sells them. It's a little tight, but you can get this to fit in here, like this here. And any LiPo like this, requires a special charger. This obviously is easier, it's just some AA batteries. And then we'll turn it on here, and then we can turn on the cat. So then this power switch you can actually take out. So if you have kids who don't want using this, when you don't want them to, you can take this key out and kind of hide it. And then just put it in, go to off, and then on here. And then, depending on your setup, this will come pre-set up, but if you're using different kind of batteries, like lithium or something, this thing has an instruction manual on how to reconfigure it to look at other battery voltages. But it will come set up for lead acid already. Then I'll go ahead and actually put the other lids on here before I start driving around. And then the basic controls of just the cat itself will depend on what you picked, because there's a left and a right driving. This particular one is left. So this will act as like the throttle. So if you go backwards or forwards, and then left or right. And that's all there is to just driving the cat, really. And then depending on this front bar, like if you have the snowblower stuff set up in here or not, you'd hit this switch down, and then this lever going down will lower that, or up, or if you flick this switch back up, it will just return all the way back up and stop. But yeah, so that's just the basic controls for the cat. And then if you want to use the blower, let me show you how to get the blower wired up. So one other thing to mention is if you just want to drive the machine around and you bought the blower stuff for it, there's quite a few wires that are hanging out the front, and they're all, to connect with the blower. But if you're just going to drive it around, you could either bring them all the way back inside the hull, or you can just kind of pull them from the inside And you can leave them loose here, just like this. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. If you leave them loose, then it's just easier to hook up the blower again. Normally you won't run over anything that will grab them. Just something to pay attention to. But then, yeah, to get ready for the blower, you should have 4 wires here. And I'm going to close this. And to close those lids, you kind of have to hook. There's like a spot right here that you like hook and then lower it down. So then the blower, you can kind of get the blower close before you actually connect it. And I'll go ahead and plug everything in. So we have the motor wire, and then the wire coming off of the servo rotation. This one will go to the servo lead that has just 2 wires coming out of it. And then the other one that has 3 wires coming out of it will go up to this one here. And then we have the 4th one is for the lights, which is this red plug. And then once you have all that plugged in, next thing to do is, I like using a cordless screwdriver for this. First, lower your front here, maybe about like halfway, and then unscrew this very top screw. The snowblower, so it has these 2 grooves down here. So, it's hard to see on the camera, but where that meets down there, those 2 grooves will like sit on a curved section. So you kind of play around with it to line all that up. And then when you get it close, then you'll have to lower that just a little bit more so then everything's lined up like that. And then we'll put those 2 screws back in. Then once you have that screwed together, just kind of make sure that there's, the wires aren't too loose down here. So you could actually open this back up and kind of pull some of the wires back into the hole. But then you're ready to actually start using the snowblower. So the very basic controls for the snowblower, similar to how I showed you before, like pushing this up will lift the blower, and you'll have to lift the blower up in the air to be able to turn around, because it's much easier to steer. If you have it down, I'll hit that back down and then lower it. It's much harder to steer when it's like lowered. And you can also just raise it a little bit if you wanted. You don't have to go all the way back up with that switch. And then I wouldn't go down too far. You can adjust the limit switches in there for how far it goes down. But the thing can't really lift the whole machine up in the air. It just applies ground pressure, as you're snow blowing. But you gotta kind of get a feel for it once you're driving around out actually blowing snow. And then to operate the actual snowblower motor, so this is the throttle for the motor. So if it's centered at the 0, it won't be spinning. And then here's like full throttle or full reverse to try and clear some clogs on it. I'll just put it at maybe 10 or 20% here. And then this switch will turn it on, and it's set up so if you push this switch to raise it, the blower motor turns off automatically. But just remember that when you hit this to lower again, the blower motor is going to come back on, and then you can put it back down, and then we can then just to turn the whole blower off, this one goes back down, and then it's off. So you can do that at any time. And then the chute, so this one right and left, will spin the chute around. And it's set up so you can spin it 360 degrees. And then this knob up here is how you adjust the chute elevation. I think I'm missing that on the camera here. So it takes a little bit to get used to. So it's, you know, snowblower throttle, snowblower on or off, snowblower up or down, and then, well, also up or down here, and then chute right and left, and the spout up and down here. And then all this is, you know, throttle and stuff. So the way to, just a really quick overview, I'm going to put the throttle back down so you can hear me. But so when you're doing like a line snow blowing, you'll have this up, have the snowblower on, and then when you turn and start getting ready to snow blow, hit that down, and then lower it, and then aim the chute where you want the snow to be blown, and then just start driving with it. And then when you get to the end, hit that switch to lift back up, and then, you know, you can turn around and then get lined back up, hit it down, and then just always make sure turn the blower back off when you're done using it so you don't accidentally turn it back on. But that's really the main operation of it. And then when you want to take the blower back off, you'll want to lower it and set it back down on the ground just to make it easier. And then just do the opposite of what we did. So take those screws out, take the blower off, unplug everything, and then you have to put those screws back in to the bar here. That way when you're lifting it up without the blower on it, it can overdrive the limits if you forget to put those screws back in, because the thing will like curl on you. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics, and that I think covers everything about, you know, getting it up and running out of the box. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let me guys know if you have any more questions or anything. And yeah, thanks.